Hi guys, Mark here. Well, if you want my opinion on how to buy a used motorcycle, stick around and I'll let you know. Well guys, hope you're well today. I thought I'd put this little video together. It's not exhaustive by any means, so please at the end, please feel free to post any comments about anything that I've forgotten. But I just thought, I've been riding bikes for about 30 odd years now, just thought I'd make a video on my take on buying a used motorcycle. I bought quite a few bikes over the years. I've just recently purchased this lovely Triumph Trophy. So basically, when you buy a used motorcycle, you're going to buy it from either a dealer or you're going to buy it privately. You know, you've scanned the classifieds, you've scanned eBay, all the sort of online sites, and you found the bike that you like. So let's say you were going to go and buy this privately. You're going to walk up to the bike, and what I do is I kind of get like a first impression. So you walk up to the bike and you're instantly, within just 30 seconds, going to sort of think, yeah, this bike's been well looked after, it's nice and gleamy, it's nice and shiny, or is it stuffed at the back of a garage under a cloth covered in dust. So, you know, you get that initial kind of feeling of the bike, don't you, when you first see it. You know, when I first saw this, I thought, yeah, that's been well looked after, but there's a lot more to check yet. So what I do when I get to the bike, I sort of walk up to it, and you're going to check, basically try and check everything on the bike. This is even before test riding now. So I come to the bike and I'll sort of squeeze the brake lever. Does that feel nice and firm? Check the brake fluid. Is it clear, which means it's new, or is it black, which means it needs changing? Basically just have a look at everything. Check the throttle grip. Make sure that works nice and smoothly. A lot of throttles are really sticky where they haven't been lubricated, so that was nice. And you're walking around the bike, just checking for any kind of damage on the bike. Has it been dropped, would you say? If it's been dropped or down the road, you're going to have nasty scratches on the bar ends here and on the mirrors. This has obviously never been dropped, as far as I can see. Just working around the bike, looking at all the body work. This is all pretty tidy. This is if I was buying this bike right now. I'd be walking around thinking, yeah, there's no kind of any visual signs of any damage, so to speak. You're going to get wear and tear on bikes. You know, this bike's done 46,000 miles. You're going to get the odd little boot mark. You're going to get the odd stone chip, that sort of stuff. But that's to be expected on a used motorcycle. So another thing to do is obviously check the tyres. These tyres are pretty new. This is a good haggling point for buying second-hand bikes. If the tyres are either low or on the legal limit, that's going to be £200 to replace the front and rear, at least. So you can haggle that into the deal and say, I want £200 off, or get a new set thrown in. So these tyres are absolutely fine. Also, you want to be checking the brake discs. Just feel for any kind of scoring there. Are the brake discs worn down? Are you going to have to replace those? If you can, have a look up in there. See how much thickness is on the brake pads. Make sure they're all in good order. All the brake lines, make sure they're not leaking. Do have a look at the forks. Okay, make sure there's no fork oil here. That's quite a big job to do. You know, maybe another £200 for a mechanic to sort that out for you. So maybe another haggling point. You know, it's not a deal breaker. I've bought bikes before with leaking fork seals. Just be mindful of that. Again, it's money off the deal if you spot that. If you can, if the bike has a centre stand, put it up on the centre stand. Get someone to push down on the back of the bike, so someone would kind of go like this on the back of the bike, right, raise the front up, and just if you can, move the forks like this, forwards and backwards, to feel if there's any wear in those steering head bearings. Again, that's, you know, it's not a deal breaker. You can still buy the bike like that, but it's going to be more money off the deal. So check the steering head bearings. If you can, check the wheel bearings as well. Give them a little wiggle. While you're here, have a look at the radiator. Make sure there's no kind of leaks or anything like that in there. Okay. Another thing that I do is have a look at the header pipes, which are the exhaust pipes right in there. Are they solid? Do they feel good to the touch, or are they really rusty and they're going to need replacing? So all that sort of thing you can check. So just working around the bike. Obviously check the service history on the bike. Has it had a full service history? Has it had lots of oil changes? If you've got an oil sight glass, check the oil level in there. It's either going to have a sight glass in there or it's going to have a dipstick. So do have a look at the oil. Does the oil look clean or is it black? Okay, so it kind of gives you an idea of you know, what sort of service life the bike's had. Do check all the paperwork, as I said. Check the stamped up service history. You know, check the number of previous owners. Another thing you can do, which is quite important, is check the chassis number, which is generally stamped down on the frame here somewhere. Make sure that matches on the logbook of the bike. So say working around the bike, just looking for any sort of damage. Check the exhaust system. Is it solid? Okay, is it the standard exhaust or is it aftermarket? If it's aftermarket, ask the owner, does he have the standard exhaust? Sometimes you might get it. Okay, while the bike's on the centre stand, you can give the rear wheel a wiggle. Just feeling for any wheel bearing play and swing arm bearings. Okay, again, all sort of like money off the deal if you find that problem. Obviously check the rear tyre as well. They're often quite worn out when people sell them. They don't tend to replace them, so that's money off the deal. So just working around the bike, you're checking the drive now. Obviously this bike is nice, sort of nice and simple, clean shaft drive, but most bikes are chain driven. So check the chain wear indicator on the swing arm. If the chain seems like it's stretched right back and it's at the end of its service life, that's more money, okay, off the bill. Also check the sprockets. Are the teeth kind of hooked over? That means they're going to need replacing at some point. So yeah, do bear in mind, do check the chain and sprockets on it. Basically just make sure everything works, really, is all I can say. You know, get hands on it, feel everything, look for any oil that's leaking. Coming around the bike now, make sure the clutch is nice and smooth. Play with all the switch gear, make sure that all works nicely. If it's a metal fuel tank, you can open up the fuel cap, have a look inside, make sure there's no rust in there at all. Okay? So that's basically just a walking around the bike, a good general check over. Then you're going to start the engine up. This is if I was buying a bike now, I would start it up. And obviously, you know, it's not exhaustive, but just have a little listen to the engine. Does it sound good? You know, give it a rev. Make sure there's no nasty smoke coming out the back of the exhaust. Are there any nasty rattles coming from the engine? I say most modern bikes, Japanese bikes, the engines are pretty bulletproof and reliable. Okay, so just walking around again, having just a good check round it. Check the rear brake pads, which are in here in the caliper. Have a look in there, make sure they're not metal to metal. If you can, just have a look in at the shock as well. Make sure that's not sort of leaking any oils or anything like that. Okay, so you've sort of had a good walk round it. Everything seems fine. So now test ride time. Always a tricky one, test rides. If you're buying a bike from a dealer, you're going to be able to get a test ride, 100%. They're going to normally want your driving licence, a credit card for security, you fill in a form, and there you go, away you go. I've never ever been refused a test ride at a dealer. Okay, this was at a dealer I bought this from, and basically he just gave me the keys, so I went out on it for an hour. Now when you're on the test ride, basically check everything. Make sure the brakes work nicely and smooth. The clutch, do accelerate the bike when through the gears. Make sure that the engine revs freely. Make sure there's no kind of hesitating or flat spots or lack of power. Make sure it feels smooth. Make sure the clutch isn't slipping. Check the gearbox as well. Go through all of the gears, up and down, lots and lots. Make sure it's not slipping out of any gears. Make sure the gears change smoothly. Have a feel of the suspension, obviously, while you're riding it as well. Does it feel correctly damped, or is it like really like a pogo effect? It might mean that you need some servicing on the suspension. So you've had your test ride and it all seems well. If you're buying from a dealer, they generally do give you a 3-month warranty. I think you could extend that as well. So buying from a dealer, you're going to generally pay a few £100s more, but a lot of people like buying from dealers because, you know, you get that peace of mind, I suppose. You know, not everyone wants to buy privately. It is slightly risky buying privately, but if you know what you're looking for, I mean, I've bought a lot of bikes privately and I've never ever bought a bad one, because I know kind of what I'm looking for, I suppose. But I do get it that a lot of people like to buy from dealers. You get that peace of mind, you get that backup, all that kind of sort of stuff. So it is good to buy from a dealer. It's safe. So, you know, you've got that. But obviously, if you're buying privately, test rides are a little bit different. You know, the general saying with buying privately is, you know, full cash price in hand. If you drop the bike, you've bought it. Okay, that's what is the general sort of saying with buying privately. Some guys will be very relaxed and they'll say, yeah mate, yeah, you take it round the block, you know, just bring it back in 5 minutes. What I generally say to people is, if I sell a bike to them privately, I'll start it up on the drive, they can sit on it and all that, and I say, if you don't like it within 5 minutes, bring the bike back and you can have your money back. To this date, no one has ever come back of a bike that I've sold privately. So, you know, I mean, some private sellers will maybe take you for a ride on the back if that's another option. But generally speaking, private sales, you're going to generally want to give the owner, you know, a big chunk of money, if not all of it, and have insurance before they let you out on their pride and joy. So, yeah, so basically, so you've checked the bike out, guys, all that. You want to also, in the UK, we have something called an HPI check, which checks if the bike has any finance on it, if it's been involved in an accident, any nasty sort of things like that. It's not expensive, so you can do that check if you're buying a bike privately to make sure it's good. If you buy a bike from a dealer, it would have had that done on it already. So, you know, again, you get that kind of peace of mind from a dealer. So, all being well, you know, the bike's checked out well. You know, sales are either done in cash, bank transfer. A lot of people buy bikes on finance, PCPs, all those sort of things through dealers. So, yeah, that's basically how I would buy a bike. As I said, when I saw this, it's also got, you want to check all the paperwork on a bike as well. Has it got a stamped up service history book? Has it got a spare key? Check all these things. Does it have the original owner's manual? Any other sort of, you know, bits and bobs that come with the bike. Make sure that you kind of ask for all these things and make sure that they're there. So guys, I mean, that's basically kind of what I would do if I was buying a bike. You know, I'd just have a good, just to reiterate, I'd walk around it, check all the different parts, check the engine's nice and smooth and quiet, check the suspension, exhaust system, take the seats off, have a look under there, make sure there's no horror stories with nasty wiring and stuff like that. Make sure that if it's a Tourer like this, does it have the panniers with the bike, which is always nice. And that is really it. Just, I mean, if you're a little bit nervous, take someone with you who's knowledgeable on bikes maybe. But that's basically what I do. That's how I buy a second-hand bike. So I'd probably say half of my bikes have been private and half of them have been through dealers, purely because it just depends on what comes up at the time. I say I was looking for one of these, it came up at a dealer, but if this same bike had been privately, I would have bought it privately. To me, I kind of feel like I'm confident enough to know what I'm looking for on a bike. I know how a bike should ride when I take it for a test ride. And you know, all is good in that respect. But yeah, just give it a very thorough check over. Don't be rushed at all. Just check over everything. You know, make sure everything works smoothly. Just have a good look at it. You know, as I said, you get a feel. That's how I do it. I get a feel of bikes as soon as I sort of see them, that I think that bike's been looked after. You know, I mean, I've bought bikes before in the past that needed new tyres, that needed new fork seals, etc. But as I said, bear that in mind. That's price. That's money off the deal that you can haggle the guy down. So anyway guys, I think that is about it really. As I say, different bikes, obviously you get sports bikes, touring bikes, you know, commuters may be slightly more hammered, shall we say, you know, ridden in all weathers, they're going to have more corrosion on them, so do check that. sports bikes that were only taken out in fair weather, maybe, you know, less rusty underneath, but, you know, make sure you do get down on your hands and knees and have a good look up underneath at all the fixtures and fittings, and just have a look at everything, really, is my best advice to you. So anyway, if I've missed anything, please feel free to post any comments. Good luck with looking to buy a used motorcycle. As I say, there are thousands of bikes on eBay. In England we have something called Bike Trader, Motorcycle News. There's a bike for everyone out there. You know, whatever bike you choose, there will be probably at least, I'm guessing, 50 to choose from. You know, I mean, on eBay right now there are probably 20 or 30 of these, so you're going to find one, but I say do persevere. Don't just buy the first one you see. As I said, sometimes you may have to travel. That's something that I've done quite a lot in the past. I found my dream bike, the price was right, the deal was done on the phone, and I've travelled up on a train somewhere to get the bike, and then I've ridden it back. But it's worth travelling. You know, if you find the bike that you really want, obviously do as much talking on the phone to the person as you can. Get them to sort of send you lots of photographs to save you that wasted journey. There's nothing worse than travelling a few hundred miles just to get there and find that the bike's an absolute pile of poop, you know. So yeah, guys, so that's it really. Just check the service history, check all the documents, and get a test ride on it. And if it all checks out well, then do the deal, shake the guy's hand, give him the money, and ride off on your new pride and joy. So anyway, guys, I'll let you go, and I think I'll go for a little ride now. And as I say, please feel free to like this video, share and subscribe as always, and I'll catch you again in a